I'm joined by Jensen after a 2-1 victory over Team Dignitas. How are you feeling about your play after that win?
Personally speaking, I don't think I played that well. I made a lot of mistakes, but overall, as a team, I think we did pretty well. Besides like the early games were a bit rough. But overall, I'd say it was a decent series for us, so I'm satisfied, I guess. I'm satisfied with the team aspect, but not with my own play.
In terms of the team aspect, you guys have looked much stronger since Impact returned from Korea. Do you think that's his own individual ability, just surpassing Ray's in his current state, or is it more of what he brings to the team dynamic?
I would say individually, they're like both pretty good mechanically. They have different play styles, but I'd say like Impact kind of like shot calls in a bit. Not necessarily like shot calls, but he like communicates a bit more. His English is a little bit better than Ray's. We just haven't. I think playing with Ray is good too. We just play differently as a team. But I'd say like I don't really know if we like specifically play better with Impact because all scrim results are like pretty similar. It might just be like the play styles against the teams we're up against. So he might have been looking better, but yeah. Regardless of the top laner you play, it seems like a lot of the focus
For Cloud9 comes to you in terms of resources and also in terms of drafting. We don't really see Cloud9 draft utility mids very often in terms of like Lulu and Karma of metas past. Is that just your preferred sort of hard carry style showing through for the team, or does the team prefer to play around you on these hard carry champions?
I wouldn't really say that I don't like play utility champions, because right now I could have played Kama in the past, but I didn't really think that she was that strong of a pick. And right now, the only like really utility mid laner is like Galio, but Galio doesn't really see that much play because he's often like banned out, or he might just look better for us in the top lane. But usually we don't really have like a style, I'd say. Like usually I just blind pick mid a lot, and I play a lot of Orianna, which is kind of an utility champion, but not at the same time. It's also a carry champ. But I think right now, I think the carry champs are usually just better unless there's like Galio for mid.
In NA right now, we kind of have 5 teams that are playing at a pretty high level, and you guys, TSM, Dignitas, CLG, and Immortals up at the top. Do you think this parity at the top of the table is a byproduct of you and TSM not playing as well as previous splits, or do you think that these teams just got better to catch up to you?
I think it might be a mix of both, honestly. I think the other teams improved a lot. I'd say beforehand, the macro of all the other bottom teams last split was really mediocre. So I think they caught up a lot when it comes to that, and I think they're also just playing better. And I think we're still like struggling a little bit with maybe finding our identity or like playing better in the early stages of the game, because it seems like that's usually where we struggle the most. Is it might be like early laning phase or just the early game as a whole. So I think that's just something we need to get better at, but I'd credit like the other teams a lot because I think they improved a lot as well.
Specifically regarding Immortals, what are they doing right in terms of their stylistic preference that is working for them to get to them at the top of the table, and how does that contrast with how Cloud9 plays League of Legends?
I think Immortals gets a lot of early advantages through like early invades with jungle, or like kind of like cheesy invades. I think that's where a lot of the advantages come from, so they get a lot of pressure through that. At least like when we played against them, they got a lot of like early invades on, like kind of cheesy a little bit. So it felt like that was how they were like pressuring the early game a lot, with like a lot of invades from like Smithy and them playing like typically hot shoving early game champions, and then just like snowballing through there. And then they also played good in the late game. So, but yeah, I'd say like they played really well as an early game team, at least from my experience from facing them. I'd say that's where they're really good.
Since your first game in the LCS, it has always been the narrative of Jensen versus Bjergsen, who's the better, mid laner from Denmark and all of that. Is that now almost 2 years after full 2 years after your LCS career started? Is that still something that you individually focus on, an individual goal to like be the best mid laner in North America, or are you more of, hey, I just want to win as a team, that stuff doesn't bother me as much?
I'd say there's like a mix of things. I don't really like compare myself to like other mid laners from my region. I like to like think of it, look at the bigger pictures. Like if there's mistakes I make, like try to like work on them, but not like compare myself to others that much. But more like think of how I can play better on my own, but not like compare myself to others. So like I don't really like compare myself to others in that way because I think there's a better way to look at it. Like just how you can play mid lane better or like do better teamwork stuff kind of thing instead of like comparing yourself to others. So I know I don't really like compare myself to others.
Jensen, Rift Rivals is fast approaching, and you guys will be attending as the second seed from North America. What do you think North America's relative strength as a region is internationally?
I think it looks like NA has like better structure when it comes to like just overall as a team. Like I think the NA orgs are like better structured than the EU orgs. So I think there's like better like coaching staff, etc. here. So I think that's kind of like the strength NA has over EU. But I think the EU teams and EU players are really good mechanically. So it'll be tough to say like how the games are going to go.
All right, well, we certainly look forward to those games. Jensen, thank you so much for the interview after your win. Is there anything that you'd like to say to your fans or the fans of Cloud9?
Thanks for supporting me and the team, and I hope we make you proud.
For everything else on NALCS and League of Legends esports, you can head to Halla.com.